We've had a long struggle, but we just want to be a group of ordinary artists first.
This has helped other people in the art world to change the way they worked.
Lindsay Fryer, we first met when she was education officer at the Arnold Feeney. Went along to several meetings. Lindsay really loved the work of Artists First.
I wanted to work with Artists First because I felt that artists need a voice. Again, whoever they are, they need a voice. And really, with the group, I felt that there was no real kind of platform for them, a public platform for their work. And I know that we were sort of trying, Jane and I, to kind of get that profile of their work into the city and into exhibitions, wherever that might be.
Lindsay actually gave us the opportunity to show some work there. Lindsay then moved from Bristol to take up a similar position, but a much bigger position, which I think is access and education to do with the Tate Liverpool's collection.
Artists First are pioneers, really. If you look back 20 odd years to when we were working with them, that kind of ethos, the way they worked as a collective, the way they really kind of pushed their political agenda has stayed with me, really. And the sector now is really embracing that kind of practice. So now a lot of galleries and museums have that sort of peer-led programming kind of ethos, and it's also helped me kickstart a group at Tate Liverpool called In the Frame. So In the Frame actually co-design programs for other people, all sorts of different art forms, so music, arts, you know, sort of, and performance. So In the Frame has come out of my experience with Artists First.
When people saw what we can do in art, it changed people's perceptions of what disabled people can do in real life.
Artists First is a great example of a group that has really had an influence on the way we all think now about disabled people, about their rights and about their voice. And that was a group of people with learning disabilities who came together in a day centre, moved out of the day centre and did their own thing as artists. Nowadays we've got a whole disability arts movement. We've got disabled people who are artists in different ways, visual artists, drama, musicians and comedians, in fact. All of that is really, really important and has kind of grown from those early roots where we had groups like Artists First who simply did their own thing. And this really has helped us to see that disabled people are people first, that people with learning disabilities don't have to be passive recipients of services and care, but can actually tell us what they want and can be artists. They can actually produce art which people want to buy because it's so good and it's such wonderful art.
When people saw how people worked in our group, they realised that law needed to change in this country.
Groups like Artists First have proved that it can be done. They've shown us, in other words, the wider society, that disabled people can be active citizens, can produce things in their own rights, have voices and can speak for themselves. So all of that has been very influential in the way that disability policy has evolved and the way that the government has thought about disabled people.
Artists First and other disabled people like us have helped change the governments of other countries too.
The UN Convention, for instance, on the rights of disabled people tells us that, gives us a framework really, where we have to and we must involve disabled people So organisations of disabled people or disabled people's organisations, DPOs, have to be actively involved in matters concerning them. So policies, laws, developments in any country which is a signatory to the UN Convention. So it's almost become part of the way of being now, that a collective voice for disabled people has to be part of policy making. But when you think about it, back in the 1980s, none of that used to happen. And so Artists First were really ahead of their time when they started up their own movement, their own group, that has really helped everybody to see things differently.